My name is Elena Nezhinsky, and I'm here with Nurit. I'm so glad that you started to record with different people. I watched a few of your interviews with people, and I think you are brilliant interviewer. And for you to go through 2020 and half of the 2021 and not really showing your face and your talent with people to interview them. I thought, let's start this. And we did it last time. I believe that was a great interview, and I encourage everybody to watch it because Nurit was a firecracker. Went all the way to express yourself, and I really like that. Then you move forward and interviewed Dr. Yan, right, on alkalizing your body, and this is wonderful to see that you started. And today we are speaking about your partner, your teacher, your master, your best friend, your lover, your everything, Gabor. Because last time I had a question. I believe that Gabor is different in a space of non-duality. And how I see it different is, well, I don't know a lot about his teaching, and I wanted to ask you how he works with people in opening them up to feeling. What I see and I saw from my side is that he's quite a mystic, which is resonating with me. And what I mean by that is, I can talk about myself. What I mean about mystic is to be available in the moment, have a teaching, have your life experience, have your experience of waking up to who we are. At the same time, abandon it generally, but be available every moment. And it's completely different. So that's how I see the mystic. It's a dance, which is, you know, how we learn the dance, the moves, and then the true dancer abandons them and just gets moved by the music itself. So that's how I see why Gabor is different. But I wanted to ask how exactly he works with people to opening them up to feel, because without that, all this non-duality is a trip in the head.
You took my first line.
Oh, okay. So we're on the same frequency.
Especially the word that you said, available. I can't believe you said that. I'm jumping up and down here because I haven't thought of that word much, but just this morning as I was waking up, it dawned on me that Gabor is always available.
Mm-hmm.
He's always available, not just to me, but he's like always available. There's an availability there.
And always available to himself, to the anything that's going on in inside, outside. It's just being available to life.
Okay. So should I answer your question?
So how he is making people available? Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, it's not that he makes people available. He doesn't, his work is not about making yourself available, making yourself more gentle, making yourself more loving, making yourself more patient, making yourself more, all the attributes that we have invented for good spiritual beings or for our spiritual image. When someone is truly awake, they are naturally available. They're naturally patient. They're naturally, all those things come naturally. So those aren't things that need to be worked on. But I'm just going to backtrack a little bit here, because you said that he's very different. And it's a very important point that you made, because A, it's true. B, what's different about what he teaches is, first and foremost, is that it is not spirituality. It's not even non-dual. There's no, it cannot be labeled that way. In fact, it's awakening out of spirituality. There's a lot, the word awakening is thrown out there like as if it's, you know, I'm going to have bread and butter today. Okay, I'm awake. You know, it's so misused today. You know, somebody once sent me a video of David Icke, and I wrote back saying that I already saw it. I liked it. And, oh, you liked it. Oh, you must be enlightened. You must be awake. That's not what we call awakening. A lot of people call that awakening just because it's an awakening from one dream to another. But there is much more to what we call awakening, and we actually call it activation, and I'll explain why. What Gabor does is the kind of awakening that he teaches, for lack of a better word, is not in the mind. Spirituality is in the mind. And one way to illustrate this very easily is we put our hand this way, and this is the horizontal line. This is the past, nice, past the elbow, and this is the future. And our spiritual journey in the mind is this way. We go with the hopes that at the end of the journey, there's some cheese or some reward or something to be achieved. And many people say, oh, you know, the past is the memory, the future is an illusion, it's an imagination, we should always be in the present. But they don't know what that means, because it's still here. It's the mind saying it. You see the difference? So
it is a horizontal line of the cross.
Exactly. Yes, like, it's a horizontal line. It's in time. And the mind is in time, and the mind can never kick itself out of time. So the mind, all it could do is with meditation or chanting or some satsang or something, it could get a little bit calm and stop for a while. But it's not permanent. That's not, it feels peace. It believes that it's in peace, and then it's still. And it feels that way, but it's temporary. And unfortunately, the mind is extremely programmable. You know, we have been programmed because of the mind. So if we go about spirituality the same way as we do in life, in the mind and in time, it's no good, because it doesn't last, and we're still programmed. Spiritual teachers have programmed us all the time. I mean, I've been programmed spiritually all the time. They tell you you're already awake, you just have to work on your issues. No, the people that I know that have told me that their teacher told them that they're awake are so far removed from being awake. They may be awake, more awake than others in certain areas. They may have certain intellectual understanding of spirituality, but the awakening or the activation that Gabor talks about is not here at all. It's a leap out of it. It's on an angle. It's not a vertical, it's on an angle. And that's a little bit too much to explain right now. Gabor talks about it in his book, Functional Silence. But it's a leap out completely. And it's not done by the mind. or not done with the mind. And that's what makes it tricky for people, because we're so accustomed to doing everything with the mind. We've been programmed to do everything, regular life, spiritual life, religious life, everything we do with the mind. And now we tell you not to do with the mind. How do you do that? So that's very tricky. And I'm going to get soon to how it's done without the mind. But before that, I'll just want to say that this path is either easy or impossible. It's very, the techniques that he teaches, and the concepts are very easy. What makes it not only not difficult, but impossible is when the mind tries to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that it's hard for the mind to do this, the mind can't do it. Because wherever we're leaping to, which we'll get to in a moment,
Mm-hmm.
cannot be reached with the mind. The mind can't get there. So if we want to get to the space where there's no mind, that is beyond the mind, if we want to get to, rather than doing everything with the mind, to be able to access our own universal intelligence, where would we look for it? Where would we go? Well, there's only one answer to that, and that is the human body. And that's what we talked about last time. That was the number one mistake of all spirituality. That's what keeps spirituality on a spiritual mind, mental level. Because teachers have always said, you're not the body, you're not the body, you're not the body. The body dies, so it can't be the body. But the truth is, the body is a fractal of the universe. The body is completely, if you look at the body, it's completely created with the golden ratio.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the hand, there's many pictures. If you Google, I'm surprised that Google even has something true in it, but if you Google golden ratio, it will actually show you how everything in nature is designed that way. Everything is created, from a leaf to a snail to a pine cone to the human body. Everything in the universe is created by that ratio. And unfortunately, the mind has interfered. The reactive mind, the reptilian mind, the collective mind, again, as we said, it's programmable. So we have been programmed to believe that the mind is it, that the mind is the ruler. The mind is not in that ratio. It's the body that is. But the mind doesn't want to hear this. The mind doesn't like this, because the mind can't interfere. The mind can't participate. When I'm leaping out of this, the mind can't follow.
Mm-hmm.
If I direct my attention, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, if I'm directing my attention inside my body, and what I mean by that is actually feeling the physicality of the body. Say, for example, feeling my hand. If I'm feeling my hand totally physically, I'm not thinking about it, I'm not imagining it, I don't have any concept about it, I'm feeling it as a physical entity. It's totally a physical sensation. When I'm doing that, my mind can't enter. That's my safety zone. And if I stay here with my hand long enough, my body becomes activated as a transformational instrument. And at that point, I made the leap. And the mind cannot interfere, cannot participate. That's why the mind doesn't like it. And that's why a lot of people, once they start and they feel this, when I felt this for the first time, I thought, oh my God, after 40 years, this is the first time that I actually experienced what it is to not be in the mind. And for 40 years, I thought I knew how to get out of the mind, but the mind can't see itself. So when I'm here, I can imagine, that I've transcended the mind because I've memorized all kinds of quotes and I put all kinds of quotes on Facebook and I can recite things and I can meditate and for a few minutes I can be a little bit calm, but it's not the same. This silence is totally different. And it's because I've entered the kingdom. What did Jesus say? The kingdom of God is within. What does within mean? For years, I've been with teachers who have told me, go within, go within, go within. Within what? Where? What? What does it mean? And when I look at a lot of what teachers say today and students, when they talk about within, they're talking about their inner world of thought and emotion. They're not talking about the body. There's a huge difference. When I go within, I'm feeling my body. It has to be the physical body because that is the door. That is the connection to universal intelligence. Nothing else is. Everything else is mind. That's why I'm saying this is a leap out of spirituality, a complete leap out. And that's why it's either easy, if you can access it, if you can feel it, if you can feel your hand, and it takes practice because the mind keeps coming in. You know, and that's what, you know, a lot of Gabor's consultations and classes are about that, to help people see, because when the mind interferes, we don't always see it. We don't always notice it because the mind is very cunning and very tricky, and it keeps wanting to come back and take control. But when you can enter this, you realize that it's a whole different story. And that's why if you can enter this, it's very easy. But this is so simple that nobody wants to, when that can't be that simple. I have to do research. I have to look at this book and that book and take this course and that course. And I have to, you know, see what Ramana Maharshi said, see what Nisargadatta said. Doesn't matter what they said. They spoke years ago to a different audience anyways. So from that point of view, it's easy. Where it's impossible is if the mind tries to do this. The mind can't feel the body. It can't be inside the body in an activated way. And what we've seen over the years with his students, the people who get it very easily are usually the people who are spiritually exhausted, like I was. You know, you'd go on. I'm amazed at some people that are still on the same path that I've been on. And I like, wouldn't you question? Where is the cheese? Where's my where is it? You know, I thought I found. I thought that my second teacher, I thought I found everything. I found the answer. And I had to look at my own experience and ask myself, after he died, the mesmerism was taken away, the manipulation, the spiritual manipulation was no longer there, but I was still going to different courses. I did Abraham and Matrix and this and that. And I had to ask myself, if I claim that I have found, why am I still searching? You know? So the way it came to Gabor is through suicidal depression. He had suicidal depression for 12 years. And there was finally there was one day that he was on the way to the beach. He was living in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, and he was on his bicycle and he wanted to go under the bus to kill himself. But he thought of his daughters, and he thought they wouldn't be very happy with that. So he went to the beach, and all of a sudden he remembered a technique that from years ago that his Hapkido teacher taught him. And that is to be inside the body. It's, for example, if I don't know if this is exactly the one, but for example, if you're inside your hand in a feeling wise, just complete feeling with no mind, somebody can't bend it because it's so strong. So he remembered that technique of feeling the body. So he said, well, why don't I just try that? After all, Jesus said the kingdom of God is within. So he decided to try it. And lo and behold, everything changed for him. That was the awakening for him. That happened for him. It happened instantaneously that way. And because of the so many years of suicidal depression, it stuck. And he didn't have to wrestle with his mind like most people do, because the alternative was going back to depression that wasn't no longer an option for him. So it stuck. And from there on, he learned how to navigate that way. He learned how to live his life from that place. But he didn't leave it at that. There are teachers who suddenly experience something like that, or maybe even the same, but they just remain there. They talk about their experience, and it's wonderful to hear, but it doesn't do anything for anybody else, because you can't piggyback on anyone's experience, no matter how great of a master they are. So what
and that's why I was curious to know how he translates that availability to others, to model, first of all, living awake is modeling this availability for others. And second of all, like I know how, for example, I model and how I translate that at some moments with people. So I was interested how Gabor does.
Yeah.
And what I understand that the first step is he brings people's attention to their own body, their own physicality.
Right. That's right, because our attention has been robbed. It's been manipulated. It's been programmed. It's no longer ours, but it is ours. But we were led to believe that it's not ours. And so actually one of his exercises is called "My Attention Is Mine," and you claim it back through feeling the body. And he's developed all kinds of techniques, all kinds of techniques to help you not only enter the body and feel the body, but to stay there, and to stay there, because that is what activates it.
And that's wonderful that he has techniques, methods, and I'm sure that he noticed that some methods works for some people and some methods works for other people, and so he uses different methods with different people.
The methods don't change much. There's a one constant in all the methods and all the techniques, and that is the body. The body is the door. If you want to get through the eye of the needle, you have to enter through the body. There's no deviation. That's for everybody.
Sure.
And no mind is for everybody.
Very short, I will say how I work. I don't work with people. It's like non-work work. And that will illustrate different, how we say it, different approaches. Like Gabor, he had that experience, and he innately a teacher, so he developed techniques based on bringing people's attention to their own body, their alchemic temple, right? To make that leap out of horizontal line of the mind. I never felt that I am a teacher here, but I always felt that I have this offering inside me that I had to put somehow, because I stumble across basically the same. I became available. I became surrendered. My mind completely surrendered to life, and I described it in my book that also through the basically suicidal um, suicidal, how you say it, event, let's say event. And I was in Vipassana retreat, so I was like, it was like 15-day already, 15-day of sitting and being open to the body and everything. But I just wanted to say that I did not develop any techniques after that, but I use my whole being. I use my whole self. I noticed that people the most close to their whole being, when they're activated, when they're feeling activated by very intense experience. Mm-hmm. So, for example, death of the loved ones, suddenly people start to ponder about the whole life, the whole existence. They're closer to that leap as never before, right? When somebody dies, or any kind of intense experience suddenly shut down the mind and bring people back to their body. So I use myself to trigger people in this way. I basically act out from consciously from a place to trigger that state when the mind shut down. They don't know what's going on, because the act out is something completely out of what mind can explain. And so that brings people suddenly in that space where the mind shuts down and their whole body activated, because maybe they offended, maybe they feel offended, or maybe they feel they feel well, because I had that experience myself of a benefit of being, for example, suddenly the conditioning touched so much, like, for example, in my case was humiliation. It touched so much that the whole body activates by itself. The mind shuts down, the body activates by itself. And when you are in that space, you are more open if somebody is there to support that. So I just wanted to say that my technique is using myself in that way.
Yeah, it's true. A shock will do it. Mm-hmm. A shock will do something. It will give you a temporary. The only problem is it's temporary and it's not consciously done. So what Gabor felt is like, people don't have to go through suicidal depression. That's why he developed these techniques. And one of the ways that it happened is because in the beginning he didn't know how to teach it. There's no precedence for it. There's no book about it. People ask him, is his teaching from Guruji? No, it's not. It's his own. He developed it. And the way it happened was, first of all, when I came into the picture, I started pummeling him with questions. Why the body? I called him in the middle of the night. Why the body? Why the body? So it was like that. So he started answering the questions, and then he realized that the shock is very important, but the shock can be induced. It doesn't have to be from some trauma. It can be induced physically. He gives exercises that are a physical, a physiology of a shock, an imitation of a shock physically, so that you're forced in your body. Without entering the body, any kind of shock or temporary stillness of the mind will not be sustained.
Sure,
The
sure.
mind will
And
come
it will,
so
yeah, and it will come out only like reactivation of the trauma or something like that. So I just wanted to say that um, when I do that, it's really I see the space there for acting out like this and supporting that person in that way.
yeah.
No, I'm not going around and acting out to everybody and trying to wake them. No, no, that's not like that.
So,
But I'm interested that he noticed that also, that the shock is needed, and that the shock can be that intensity, that the intense it only can happen with a lot of energy available, and so there is this intensity needed, and he found a way how to translate it into special, like some specific exercises that people can do.
when you asked about if he works with people differently, the
Mhm.
basic principle is the same for everyone. There's no million ways to God. There's one
Mhm.
way, and it's through
Mhm.
the eye of the needle, which is the body. However, different people have different lives and different mental constructs, and so he works with people that way in helping them stay in the body, and also help them to live their life from that place.
Mhm.
Once someone is awakened this way, once someone is activated and is in the body fully, and it has made the leap, we call that context. That becomes a context of our life. That's the context. And everything else, the events of our lives, the getting up in the morning, going to work, whatever it is, reading a book, practicing whatever we want, that's content within the context of this activated place.
Mhm.
So he helps people live that way. He has all kinds of techniques that way, like the technique of a shock, if you need it. Not everybody needs the shock,
Mhm.
but most people do if the mind is running. He'll teach you first to go inside and to feel the body. If the mind is very, very active and won't let you go, then he gives you a technique. There's a technique to shock yourself out of the body. Sorry, out of the mind and into the body. But it's physical. It's always a physical thing. It's not, again, it's not about a memory, or it's not about some kind of template that has been created in our psyche or mind or anything like that. We don't, we don't, we don't ignore what happened. Like anyone can talk to him about anything. He's not like one of those teachers that say, oh, that's just your story, I don't want to hear your story. I know many teachers like that. That's your story, forget it, don't talk about it. Oh, that's just emotion, that's not important, don't talk about it. Just, and he's also not the other way, where some teachers say, oh, you have to work out your emotions, you have to work out your issues. We don't do that either. What we do is we enter that inner kingdom, that space which is in the body. And when we do that, we access the universal intelligence. And from that place, we deal with our issues, if they still need to be.
Mhm.
Most of the time for me, when I'm there, I don't even, I don't even know issues anymore. But the beautiful thing is, if there are issues and they're dealt with from the place of the universal intelligence, they get resolved permanently. Many people, and myself included, I've been in so many different kinds of teachings, worked on this, worked on that, and it feels good for 2 weeks and then it comes back. I've been to retreats and felt, oh my God, I made it. I'm there, feeling so elated. 3 days to a week, I'm back. It's gone. This is permanent. It's permanent because it's not here. The mind is in time, spirituality is in time. All the practices and the working on ourselves and trying to become more spiritual and all those things, those are temporary because they're in the mind. The mind has no sustaining power. But when you're here, the universe is intelligent. It's eternal. The problem is, again, that the mind interferes, and everybody's mind interferes a little bit differently. And that's where it might differ from student to student. He'll talk to somebody about their life, and they may have a problem in life, and he will help them, not by fixing the problem, but he will help them by getting them to go inside deep enough that they're able to deal with whatever they have to deal from this place. Now, I know this is a lot of theory, and this is all, you know, it sounds very intellectual, which partly it is. But to
when you try to describe anything, it is yeah. But he works with everybody individually, so it's
individually and in groups, yeah.
Mm-hmm,
But it's true. It's I feel from observing him working with people is that in the private consultations, people advance quicker because you can't hide behind a group. And
so he's basically teaching yoga. This is yoga. This is true yoga. Going within your own body and becoming available to anything coming from life. You're going from there. Instead of the mind leading, then you just, I like your word, activated and led by universal, how we say it, universal energy itself.
Yeah, that's right.
And then all the different circumstances and events and whatever is in life, that we can't really change that, and we can't really choose any of it. But if we are meeting anything from the place of being completely available, and the only we can be available when we are in the body.
And at that point, you can affect things in your life.
Exactly.
There's billions and millions of people, billions of people are doing all kinds of law of attraction stuff. I've done it for years. It doesn't work. They actually, I looked it up once. The percent of people that actually get something out of it is so minuscule. The people keep doing it because it sounds so wonderful. Oh, I can affect my life. I can have whatever I want. And they do that. And even if they get something that they wanted, something else goes wrong, or it doesn't stay permanent. But when you're in that space and you learn how to stay there and you learn how to make that the context of your life, from that place, you can set intentions and affect your life. You can change things in your life. That's what we call mastery. That's a whole other, that's much more advanced. And many of the students are doing that. They're extremely successful and doing that. And we found that if somebody actually practices it, there's 100% success rate. That's why we say it's easy or impossible. The problem is with most people, not most, but a lot of people, is that they can't let go of their past spirituality. They can't let go of this. And I had that problem in the beginning. I came to Gabor with a shitload of baggage. I don't know how I even carried it so much. Because what about this? What about this? What about this? Oh, so that's like this. Oh, so that's like meditation. Oh, so that's like this. Oh, so that's like that. And the mind cannot survive without comparing. So when you go out here, the mind peeks in. It's I know how to participate. I'll compare this piece
Mhm.
with a piece that I found this year, that year, with this teacher, with that teacher.
Mhm.
And we think it's we don't realize that it's harmful because it helped us in the past. It made us feel good. It found a solution for us temporarily, but it found a solution at the time when we were suffering. So we think, oh, this is good, this is good. There's no harm in comparing, but there's a tremendous harm because as soon as you do that, you're back in time
Mhm.
and the leap is done. It's over. So that's where a lot of the work that he does with people, that's where it comes in to help.
Mhm.
Because many people don't. I didn't see that. I used to ask. I tell them things, and I say, "Oh, what about this? What about that? Or isn't this like this? Isn't like this?" No, it's not. Silence is silence. It's not like anything. So
And for people, it's very difficult to accept that this is it.
yeah,
This is it.
yeah,
It's not acquiring some understanding, some more of something. No, this is it. The less is more availability. The less in the moment is this is it.
yeah, yeah. That's what exactly what Gabor said to me when the first time I experienced it. I didn't know anything about this. And we I actually stayed away from him even after I met him, and even after I knew how he is. I had a very strong sense of who he is without really understanding it, and I literally stayed away for 2.5 years. I was terrified of him because I knew that what he does is the end of the line. I didn't know how, I didn't know why, I didn't understand that, but something in me knew that once I do this, there's
Mhm.
no more search. And I was addicted to the search, like many people are. So what we met once in accidentally, well, there are no accidents, but we ran into each other at a singles barbecue. And we've already talked many times before, but stayed away. And at one point he said to me, what what you're doing is fine, but what I do is not in the mind, and what you do is in the mind. And I was furious, Elena. I wanted to punch him. I didn't show it because I was polite, but I was so mad because I thought that I was transcending the mind. My mind thought that
And
it was.
yeah, and that's Nurit, where I say that when we're using the whole us to just say something. First of all, he wanted uh, for you to relax, and he said, "What are you doing is fine." And then he relaxed you to listen more, and then he made a shot. But what you're doing is in the mind, and this is basically don't bring you anywhere.
Right.
And that completely like made you. That's what I'm saying. How when you apply that intensity, that shock at that moment, first he actually made you um,
Yeah.
made you available to for that shock.
Right.
What you're doing is fine, he
Right.
said.
But that shock did not wake me up.
Mhm.
It,
but
what did wake me
but
up?
it brought your attention. It brought your attention, whole attention to that.
Yes,
You suddenly.
yes, but
Mhm.
that wasn't peaceful. That wasn't inner peace. That wasn't
Sure,
awakening. That
sure,
wasn't
sure.
activation. What did it for me was
Mhm.
when we got together as a couple. A
Mhm.
week later, I asked him, okay, so what is it that you do? And he said, I'll show you. And what he did is he said, and we can do it together now if you want. He said, look into my eyes, look at me, and feel your hand. You don't need to look at it, you don't have to move it, just feel your
Mhm.
hand from inside. Feel the aliveness of your hand from inside. And all of a sudden, my mind completely stopped. It was utter silence, unlike I've ever experienced before. And I said, oh my God. And he said, that's the it. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean the it? What it? That's the it, he kept saying. I said, what do you mean? That is the it. He was shaking me.
That's it. That's it, Nurit. This is it.
But it had to be through feeling the body. You know, all the other stuff is great. And but all the other stuff that we did in the past, like finding a peaceful moment, those are all fine. The problem with that is that right now, in this day and age, with what's going on in the world and all the confusion, there is so much confusion, like we talked about, not just in medical and everything else, in spirituality, there's so much confusion. It's no longer enough to have this temporary peace. And I know many people, like one of your best friends, who meditated for 50 years. He's still meditating for 50 years and quoting the
Bhagavad. You know, I know what you're talking about.
The Bhagavad Gita.
We will not talk about this.
No. I'm just making a point. That is wonderful. And that was good for a time. That's the time of Ramana Maharshi and Nisarga. That was good. They were showing people that there's something else and blah, blah, blah. It's no longer enough. Right now, we have to go much deeper. We have to go beyond all this spiritual crap. And I'm calling it crap because I lived through it, you know, and it helped me temporarily. I was happy, but I wasn't awake. I wasn't activated. It was up and down, up and down, up and down.
So I have a question for you. Since you already got in touch with yourself, why you still call Gabor your master?